The Kremlin is pushing back against claims Russia is preparing to invade Ukraine. The country's Defense Intelligence Agency chief tells the Military Times Russia has more than 92,000 troops around Ukraine's borders. He claims the forces are preparing for an attack by the end of January or beginning of February. The U.S. has reportedly shared intelligence with European allies showing the buildup of troops and weapons. The information lays out a plan in which Russian troops would cross into Ukraine in two places, Crimea and the Belarus-Ukraine border. Russian President Vladimir Putin has denied any intention to invade. The Kremlin says the U.S. is creating hysteria around the situation. Russian officials say they are alarmed about what they call a Western push to arm Kiev with high-tech weapons. For more on this, I want to bring in former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, William Taylor. Ambassador Taylor, welcome. Thank you for being with us. Russia's last major incursion into Ukraine was nearly 8 years ago. They've been fighting off and on ever since. So why the escalation now?
Tanya, this is a very good question. Why now? It might be that President Putin has noticed that the Ukrainians under President Zelensky have not bent to his pressure. As you say, President Putin invaded Ukraine, both into Crimea and then into southeastern part of Ukraine, into Donbass, and thought that he would be able to exert some influence over Ukraine to bend them to his will, to try to reincorporate Ukraine into the Russian world that he is trying to reconstruct after the dissolution of the Soviet Union. And he's noticed, in particular over the past year, that President Zelensky is not having it. Indeed, President Zelensky is going in the other direction. He's going toward Europe. He is going towards European values, institutions, markets, and President Putin might think that he has to do something to arrest that movement.
And Russia is denying, as it always does, that it intends to invade Ukraine. But should we believe that?
We should not believe that. We should prepare to deter that. What we should do is listen to what he's saying. He has been saying over the past 6 months, several months, that Ukraine is not really a nation. Ukraine really only exists under Russia. And that's pretty threatening. That's pretty disturbing. That together with the movements that all of the intelligence services in Europe and in the United States and in Ukraine can observe, those military movements are troubling. They happened, President Putin moved some troops around last March, April. We remember the 100,000 troops on the Ukrainian border, which prompted President Biden to call President Putin to tell him to back off of Ukraine. It was in that same phone call that President Biden offered a meeting with President Putin, and President Putin responded to both the demand that he back off of Ukraine and the invitation for a meeting, and he pulled back. He didn't pull all his equipment back, but he certainly pulled a lot of his troops back, and they're back on the border now. So the question is, why is that? And should we prepare? Yes. We should prepare to impose serious, harsh sanctions that go beyond anything that we've done so far in order to deter President Putin from making that serious mistake that Secretary Blinken mentioned. That would be a serious mistake for him to invade Ukraine now.
So you're saying that the sanctions should come now, in effect, as a deterrent, because obviously if it happens afterwards, it's too late. So is that what you're suggesting?
What I'm suggesting exactly, Tanya, is that now is the time to make them ready. They need to be coordinated with the Europeans. The sanctions that we've put in place so far that have had some effect, obviously not everything that we wanted to have happen has happened, but the sanctions are effective because the Europeans and the Americans and others, the Canadians and the Japanese and the Australians, all abide by these sanctions. And that pressure comes from an international sanction. So what needs to happen now is discussions, preparations, coordination on enhanced sanctions, harsher sanctions, more serious sanctions on a broader range of the Russian economy, on specific individuals around President Putin. Those sanctions, if they're ready to go, if President Putin knows that we're preparing those sanctions, it may deter him. It may make him rethink the wisdom of invading Ukraine.
And so what is President Putin's calculation here? What does he hope to accomplish with an invasion, knowing that there would be repercussions from the international community?
It's a great question. Many people are asking exactly that question. No one has a good answer because no one knows what's in Mr. Putin's mind. One of the things that what we can tell is in his mind is what I mentioned earlier, that he's got his interest in being a historical figure in Russian history. And to be that historical figure, he needs Ukraine. Ukraine is the basis, is the foundation, is the origin of Slavic Christian civilization. And without Ukraine, President Putin cannot be this great czar, this great leader, this great Russian gatherer of lands. But that's not a rational decision. As you just indicated, it would be very painful for him, not just on these sanctions. The Ukrainian military is very different today than it was in 2014 when he invaded the first time. The Ukrainian military has been fighting, is battle hardened, it's got better equipment, it's got better leadership, it's got better training, it's got better weapons. It would be very, very painful for President Putin to do this, but that's apparently what he has in mind.
Right. Well, let's dive into that a little bit. The military repercussions, the cost in both, human life and in military treasure, because, more than 14,000 people in Ukraine have been killed since Moscow annexed the Crimean Peninsula in 2014. So what kind of conflict would a new invasion set off?
It's the right question. Of course, in addition to annexing Crimea, as you indicate, he also sent his troops, military troops, into Donbass, into two oblasts of western Ukraine, Donetsk and Luhansk, where they still are, where they've been for the past nearly 8 years. Fighting, killing Ukrainians, as you said, 14,000 Ukrainians have died in the heart of Europe in 2021. It's astounding. Where would he go with this? He probably, who knows? I mean, the military is thinking about that question. The military is planning, the Ukrainian military is planning to defend themselves. Of course, President Putin has troops in Crimea, has troops on the border with Ukraine. He has troops in Belarus, in the northern border of Ukraine. So he's got a lot of options. However, he probably knows how painful, how bloody, how horrible such an invasion would be. The Ukrainians will fight. The Ukrainians will fight ferociously for their country, for their independence, for their sovereignty. The Ukrainians will fight, and it will be bloody for the Russian military. So maybe he has in mind artillery barrages or short-range missile strikes or drone attacks. Maybe this is what he has in mind. And this needs to be the preparation that the Ukrainians are facing right now.
Ambassador William Taylor, thank you so much. We so appreciate you sharing your insight with us.
Thank you, Tanya. It's good to be here.